Welcome back to What I Did Next from A&T Media. We're continuing my conversation today with interior architect Nouf Al Moneef, director of the Noor Riyadh Festival. On today's episode, Nouf tells me about the evolution of the festival as well as about her own design aesthetic. Why was light as a concept singled out as something to highlight as opposed to just art?
So light is a new medium, and for us, when you open your eyes, you see light. And when the first source that ever was created is light, or with the fire, and everyone is always gathered around light. And light it's very inspiring,
Yeah,
and eye catching.
yeah.
A lot of people, when they see light, they follow the light.
They go towards
So
it, yeah.
they go towards it, they follow it. So that was maybe the concept. So um, I came to I started with the Riyadh art. The concept was already there. It was within the master plan. So yeah, it got built throughout the years.
And tell me about what it is today. So what is the festival about today?
So as I mentioned, it started back in 2021, the first edition. Also during COVID, it was very challenging. It was very, very challenging in so many aspects. A lot of lockdowns happened during uh, um, um, the phases that we worked on. In 2021, we had 12 locations and 63 artworks. And then it was very successful. Alhamdulillah, يعني it reached globally and it was very successful. A lot of people loved it.
And that event did not, I presume, have people coming from abroad, though. It was
Yes.
seen online, right, by people.
There were people that had exceptions. For example, journalists and artists that participated.
And the artwork, Nouf, is open to anyone from any nationality. It's not only showcasing Saudi art, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We always have a target of only 30% to be local or
Right.
Saudi. The rest is all international.
Okay.
The second year, we had a request from higher management to make it bigger. So we tripled the size. We had 200 artworks across 40 locations.
Wow. And when you say locations, are we talking about outdoor installations or are we talking about things indoors as well, or how?
Outdoor installations, but we had the exhibition, and the exhibition was an indoor exhibition. So throughout the 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23, we had indoor exhibitions that lasted for 3 months, but the festival is only for 17 days.
I see. Okay.
So it is mostly public art. So we
Yes.
wanted to educate people what is public art and what's better than doing it with light. So light installations across the city, across plazas, gardens, parks, buildings, squares. That was the target.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, after that, 40 locations, and then we said no, let's chill a little bit for the third edition. So we had in our third edition approximately 5 locations, and 120 artworks.
And how do you make that selection, Nouf? How do you decide what is worthy of being included? Are there certain criteria that they have to meet? How do you decide?
So we do not decide. Every year we have different curators. We have international curator and a local curator, and they work together for them to choose the artworks and to choose the artists.
I see. Okay.
And every year we have a theme. So the curator needs to work closely with the artists to bring a creation that will follow the theme.
I understand. And what
So
was the
yeah,
theme this last year? This last
light years apart. بين الثرى
interesting.
والثريا.
حلو قوي.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yes, yes, it was so beautiful. We had 63 artworks across three hubs or
Hmm. Hmm.
three main locations. We had 18 Saudi artists participating, um, um, and we had 43 international artists.
Are you considered yourself? Do you consider yourself an architect? Do you have that scientific knowledge of how to build a building?
Yes. So
Okay.
they taught us how to do that. So the curriculum that we studied, it's a curriculum that Prince Sultan University took it from King Fahd, a university of petroleum in Al Khobar,
Right.
um, and it's mostly engineering.
I see.
So my bachelor's, it's bachelor's in science and engineering and
I
interior
see. I
designs.
see.
Yeah.
So you have a
So
very scientific brain amongst other things. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So basically, they taught us how to do, even in the bachelor's, they taught us how to do the building, etc. And then until the end of the result design process. Also in San Francisco during my master's, it was a very intensive course master's. By the way, it was
Mm,
3 years.
that's long. That's
That's long.
quite long. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, so it's a very intensive course. So the first year was the they taught us how to do the buildings again. Like the courses that I took them in Sultan, but
Yes.
it was
But they
just
made you redo them.
taught us redo them and doing it differently as well.
Hmm.
Um, Also, for example, the second year was mostly art. So a history of art, more of art courses,
It's
and
such a
design
nice
courses.
combination, Noof, to have these two worlds brought together under one umbrella, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think architecture, design, fashion design, all these product design, graphics, all these come under, yeah, I think, to my opinion, they're
Mm.
pillars under art. So
Yes. Yes.
they are all art. And and studying all of these, like for example, I took courses in photography, I took courses in graphic design, I took courses in arts in general. It was really really interesting, honestly.
Yeah. When you look back on those 3 years and now in the position you're in and the work you're doing, what did you learn then that you're using now? And I don't mean necessarily from the course itself. I mean
Mm.
how you were living there, what you were exposed to. Are there things that you're trying to incorporate into the festivals today that you saw something there that triggered in you something?
Being engaged and having endless conversations with um, internationals and global and people from different countries, that's what's important, honestly. And for example, there were people that did not even speak English in my courses, and also in San Francisco, because there are a lot of Chinese and Japanese over there, and they did not speak English, and they didn't want to speak English with you even.
Yeah.
So the way, and I'm still friends with them. So the
How do
communication.
you communicate?
Don't ask me. So this is it. The communication, being um, being friendly and uh, being there for each other, especially that they are away from their families and we are away from our country and our families. We supported each other a lot, and um, as I mentioned before, I mentioned to you this once, that the diversity between the nationalities and the
Yeah.
people that were that I got engaged with, that was really similar on what I'm doing right now with engaging and the social exchange that we are doing with the international artists that are
Yes.
coming in
And do you
Saudi.
think you would have had that ability of I mean, obviously you're a very educated, well-traveled person anyway.
Mm.
But did something when you were studying abroad, did you learn something different that you're now putting into practice?
Art in general. Visual arts in general, looking at different galleries or exhibitions or museums.
And what kind of art do you like personally? If you were to be decorating your own house now, what kind of art would you choose?
Contemporary art, contemporary visual
Contemporary.
art. So yeah, yeah,
Are
yeah.
you would you lean more towards Arab artists, or would you incorporate a mix?
A mix, a mix. But I lean to Arabs and local talent always.
Yeah,
But it's a mix. It's a mix, and especially when I see like an international artist that adds arabesque or something from our culture to their
yeah.
art. So I feel really inspired, and I feel really happy for them to use our culture, um, uh,
That they're
our sense
inspired by
of
it.
yes,
That they're
yes,
inspired by
exactly.
it. Some interior firms have a very strong look, and you can
Mm.
you can tell. I mean, in
Like
Egypt, we
Zaha
have some
Hadid, for example.
like Zaha Hadid, or and
Yeah,
even we have in Egypt quite a lot of well-known now interior
yeah,
firms, and you go into
yeah,
people's homes and you know exactly who did it because
yeah,
it's a
yeah, yeah,
style.
yeah.
What would you
Yeah,
have? What was your sort of style at the time?
very contemporary. A lot of people that entered like houses that we did were like, this is so Nouf Al Moneef, for example. Uh,
But
did she do it for you?
what
Like the
what would it
mix,
have been?
minimal yet mix of colors, like a pop of color, for example, in a minimal space.
Right, right.
Or like a very catching wall, like a wall that is all marble and colored marble with very minimal furniture.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
these kind of
Yes.
touches that
So strong accents
really
in a
so
more subdued overall space.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And the mix of colors, the mix
Yeah.
of materials. We used to mix materials a lot, and we
And
loved customizing furniture. And we collaborated with a few architects, and we did a brand called Pendulum. We designed swings.
to
Yeah,
be hung in
we
gardens and
designed
things like that?
no, not gardens, interior spaces, interior
Okay.
luxury. So we
Yeah.
called it luxury swings. So it was different, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
participated in a couple of design weeks, and
Yeah.
that was also a plus.
That was the second part of my conversation with Nouf Al Moneef, director of the Noor Riyadh Festival. If you're enjoying our episodes, please consider becoming a member of the show. You can get started with a free trial on Apple Podcasts or on our website. You'll unlock more bonus content with our guests, as well as our new segment, What I Did Next Encore. You can listen to my encore conversation with Omar Samra and Neda Dibs, and stay tuned for my encore chat with entrepreneur and investor Ahmed Elfi. Thank you for joining me today. You've been listening to What I Did Next from A&T Media. My name is Malak Fuad, and the show is produced by Shirag Desai.